Get ready to dive deep into Buffalo's vibrant music scene because we're stepping inside the fabulous Flamingo Lounge for the 9th season of local music magic. In the Flamingo Lounge with Rockabilly Greg is more than just a podcast. It's a collection of stories that delves deep into the vibrant musical history of Buffalo and Western New York, creating a living archive where each story adds a unique thread to the overall narrative. This season, we're taking a deep dive into the heart of the music community. Join us for personal conversations with musicians and industry pros, where we celebrate the collective creativity that makes our favorite artists, venues, and events so special. But before we get started, I'd like to give a big shout out to our sponsors, CatsLikeUs.com, Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, and valued supporters, Buffalo Ironworks and Sportsman's Tavern, for helping to keep the music alive. This week, I am thrilled to welcome back to the Flamingo Lounge a true cornerstone of the Western New York music scene, Nick Veltri. From his powerhouse days anchoring the groove on bass with legendary acts like Big Wheelie and the Hubcaps, Stan and the Ravens, Billy McEwen and the Soul Invaders, to his tireless dedication behind the scenes, Nick has helped shape the very fabric of Buffalo's rich musical heritage. He's a Buffalo Music Hall of Fame inductee whose passion for the groove is matched only by his commitment to supporting our incredible local talent. Get ready for some fantastic stories. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Flamingo Lounge, the one and only Nick Veltri.
Thank you very much, Greg.
Nick, hey, thanks for coming back. It's been a while. I look back, it's been about 4 years since you were here with Sammy Garino
right
early on in my podcast days. So here I am 4 years later and still rocking and rolling. And
I would expect nothing less from you.
There you go. Well, I got a 10-year goal, so I want to get to 500 episodes, and then we'll see what happens after that. But almost halfway there.
Yeah.
So, but there's so many stories to tell, and it's just it's gotten great, and everybody's contacting me to say, how do I get on and tell my story, which is awesome, and which led me to I ran into you there at the nomination committee for the Buffalo Music Hall of Fame, and going over some folks that I've had the pleasure of having here on the podcast, and tell their story, and hopefully people listen to the episode because they can certainly tell their story better than I. And I thought about when I had you on, and Sammy says, "Hey, Greg, Nick's not the big internet guy." He says, "You think you could bring a copy of the podcast over to coffee, put on a CD?" I'm sure I can do that. And I went over, and I should have had my recorder button on. You were telling the best stories for like an hour and a half, and you just had me awestruck. It was great just telling, it's, and I always loved it because, veteran musicians like you guys, you're not braggadocious by any stretch, but, given the right situation, it's just like you start talking and, this comes out. Remember that time? And there was a couple, I can't remember the other guys that were there, but hey, remember that time and we did this, and remember that time. And I love to be a fly on the wall with that stuff.
That's all we got are the memories.
Yeah, that's and hopefully we can record those memories. So that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you back down here, because I'm like, man, you still got lots of stories in there that I want to talk about. But before we get started with that, as mentioned, I always like to start off the episode with, did you have an aha moment when you said, man, music's what I want to do?
Yeah, I always wanted to be in music from the time I was a little kid. I wasn't sure what instrument or any of that until I started taking sax lessons at Art Kubera's when I was about 9, 10 years old. But every Saturday for my lesson, I had to walk by them shiny new Fender basses on the wall. Mm-hmm. And then one day I was at the county fair with a bunch of kids from our neighborhood, and I saw who were the El Tempos. I didn't know that at that time.
Okay.
But it was certainly the El Tempos. Mm-hmm. Red instruments, red blazers, and they were great. And that really left a mark on me.
Right.
And finally we got to induct them in the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago.
Right.
But yeah, that was a big one. I heard the bass and I saw what it does, and for a dancing crowd and so on.
Sure.
So I never played a guitar in my life. I never, And I wasn't any good on sax.
Right.
So So here I am as a bass player.
As a bass player, one,
Yeah.
one of the best. So
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I mentioned some real greats that you played with, and we'll get to that. But you mentioned Art Kubera. Now, were you able to get like your first bass? I know Art. I've talked to a bunch of folks like Dick Bowerly and Carol Jean Swist, and they're like, yeah, without Art, you know.
Well, I agree. Without
Yeah.
Art, none of us, we couldn't afford that stuff.
Right.
My father got me an off-brand electric bass and a little amplifier around 63 or something like that. And, and I immediately I wasn't sure what I was doing, but I was trying to copy things I heard on the radio
Right.
and on records and so on. And then gradually I ended up learning the fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
I took, Art was great. And I think everybody would agree that's from the area.
Right.
And my father wanted me to take upright bass lessons, legitimate lessons,
Mm-hmm.
which I did from the great Ted Mayer, who was a Philharmonic bass player and a great teacher. A lot of people studied with him, Jim Kurtzdorfer. And so it's been a long haul. Sam and I were just talking about how long ago. I mean, that was 63 for me.
Right.
And he's a couple of years older than me. So, so we've been at it a long time. And, but the El Tempos, after seeing that, that was the type of thing I wanted to do.
Yeah. Now, when you did the upright, were you doing any kind of slap bass or any kind of rockabilly type stuff? No.
Not only did I not do that, but for years when I took lessons, I never once plucked a note in front of my teacher. It was all bowing.
Oh, okay.
All position, concentrating on trying to be in tune and all that stuff.
Well, I know you had mentioned one time to me, you're like, yeah, upright's tough because if that left arm gets a little tired, you're gonna be a little sharp or a little flat.
You're gonna be out of tune.
Yeah, because there's no frets on there. You
gotta do it the right way. It's like lifting weights too. If you stop playing the thing,
right?
When you stop lifting weights, you're gonna get fat. And on that thing there, you start losing technique right away.
Right.
Difficult instrument, but I'm really, really glad and blessed that I be able to take lessons from Ted Mayer.
Now I know because I've been blessed to show it at different times when I was at the hall. You got a bass that's got a whole bunch of signatures etched in it, and I think you actually had a story written about it in a magazine.
Yeah, the magazine was I think it was 20th Century Guitar, and I forgot what year it was, 01 or 02, something like that. And I was collecting signatures on it, and because the finish started to fall off and everything, so it didn't matter.
Right.
Yeah, and but I ended up I had to sell the thing.
Oh.
It needed money 3-4 years ago, and a man in the Netherlands bought it, and ended up calling me on the phone. Started contacting some of the people that were listed on the back of the bass.
Right.
I think he called or emailed Steve Nathan and some of these different people.
Yeah. I think I may still have a picture of that.
Yeah, I got
bass.
pictures of it.
Yeah, from because we when we were at the Buffalo Museum of Science in 2017.
You made the display cases, I recall.
Yeah, and I think
plexiglass.
Yeah, and I think you had that bass. There was a get out your guitar day or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
When it started, and you had your bass there, and we had a little stand that I had made, and we had that on display at the Hard Rock when we opened up that room, and that was cool. So
yeah.
No, what year, make, and model was that?
That was a 1959 Rosewood fingerboard.
Wow.
And the hell was the serial number? 43444, something like that. I had it a long time, and but the sad part about it was one day I was playing at the Tralf and the nut collapsed.
Oh.
It was the original nut, and while I'm playing, I got no D or G string, and after I got a new nut on it, it just didn't play right, and so I started using my other ones.
Gotcha.
It happens,
Right. Yeah. So what's your bass of choice these days?
Well, I have three. They're all reissues. I got a 58 reissue, which has really got a great sound. easy to play.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a 54 reissue, which same thing, a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the original, more primitive version.
Right.
And then I have a 62 reissue. And and I bounce back between all three of them when I practice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. I like having a couple.
Mm-hmm. What's kind of the difference in the sound, and is it the pickups? Is it just the way it plays, or?
To me, it's the strings.
Mm.
I mean, I prefer a precision bass, the split pickup. And I like heavy gauge flat wound strings. And I've always used those things.
Mm-hmm.
There were times I had to use other stuff, but that's what I always preferred.
Right.
Labella flat wound.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that gets the sound that I have in my mind.
Right.
So I concentrate on that part of it. But to me, that to answer your question, the strings and precision bass, they have the sound.
Wow. And you're strictly doing fingers, right? You're no
Oh,
picking.
Yeah. No, I never had skills for that.
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends of mine. There's a couple guys around here now. My friend Tony Camilleri and Bill Ludwig. Those guys are great pick guys.
Mm-hmm.
Tony doesn't really do it anymore, the pick. He does the fingers.
Right.
But those, if I tried to do that, I would drop the thing in the first, by the time the bridge comes, it would be on the floor, so.
Yeah.
Never had the skill with that.
Yeah. Now, is there a specific style that you like of music? I know you're a blues guy, but is there like a specific kind of genre that you've always felt like close to? Or I know you've played rock and roll and different stuff also.
The real rock and roll from the 50s and early 60s, if I had my choice and I could only do the one thing, that's what I would do.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of those records in the old days, they're done on upright bass, and precision bass with the strings, like I said, gets pretty close to that.
Okay.
And but I love the R&B stuff, the Motown, and the stuff, especially the stuff out of American studios in Memphis with Tommy Cogbill and Mike Leach playing bass down there. And the Sounds of Philadelphia, all those guys are really, really good.
Yeah.
And to this day, when I'm practicing, I'll commonly listen to things like anything that Bob Moore was on. Now, Bob Moore, I can see you're an Elvis fan.
Mm-hmm.
Just about everything, little bit. Just about everything that Elvis did after the Army was all Bob Moore, who I had the great privilege to meet him some years ago. My friend Phil Dillon was friends with him down in Nashville. I literally got in a car and drove to Nashville to take him to lunch and ask him a million questions.
Wow. And
he was a nice guy, and I learned so much from listening to his records, and I told him so. I think at first he thought I was some kind of a jerk from New York or something.
Right.
But we were talking about, I told him, I said, when I first heard Elvis's Marie's the Name, there's a very cool bridge in that song. It goes from D to C. There are triads in there on the bass. But on the second one, he changed it up a little bit and stuck an A minor in there, turned the chord into an A. And he goes, "You heard that?" I go, "Yeah." So now he's got his arm like this, and we're talking about all these. And I told him, I said, I listen to this stuff. To this day, I still listen to all that stuff that he played.
Right.
What a great player. Great, all that stuff in the 50s. Pat Boone records, Ollie Orbison, all the Brenda Lee records, Patsy Cline records. I told him whoever played on the Patsy Cline records was the same person that played on the Elvis stuff after the Army. Because they didn't list their names.
Oh, okay.
Took years before I found out. But that's true.
That was him, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Wow. That's cool, because because I know Bill Black left Elvis after, when he got in the Army, and of course he died in the early 60s at any rate, so.
65, I think.
Yeah. But he had and he had James Burton also,
Oh, yeah.
fronting him on his chicken picking.
Yep.
And I always like, man, what's that? You know, and of course he played with Ricky Nelson, you know, when he
Oh,
got
yeah.
started. Just
Yep.
just that, as you know me,
Sure.
that's my kind of stuff too. That's what gets into my bones, you know.
When Ricky Nelson was on TV on the family show there, when the band would play, that was Joe Osborne on bass,
Okay.
who ended up playing on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he was a Wrecking Crew guy, wasn't he?
He was one of them.
Yeah.
Carol Kay was, I think she did the most work out of there, but he was like on all the Carpenter stuff and all that stuff. And
Right.
yeah, super great player. Mamas and Papas he was with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing when you hear about that stuff. It's like all the stuff from the 60s, none of the bands are actually recording that stuff. You know, they might have been out, you know, doing it live, but
Session guys.
Yeah.
Well, you know how a studio works. They don't have time to fool around while
Right.
you learn a chord or something. They
Mhm.
want to cut it right this minute, one, maybe two takes, and they're not interested in anything else. And
Right.
so what do? Can you imagine sitting there waiting, having Phil Spector wait on you to do something? I don't think so. You
Yeah.
got to use the right people.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me.
It's and I know hearing stories like about, you know, watching the Wrecking Crew. And, you know, again, we were fortunate enough to have Denny Tedesco in town. And, you know, one of the guys told a story how about the Byrds wanted to, you know, record their own stuff. And I use session guys. It took them like 77 takes or something crazy like
Mhm.
that. They're like, yeah, okay, we'll let you guys come back the next time, you know. And they're like, we never knew what we were playing. We just were given the charts. Boom, here you go. Play it, record, on to the next.
Yeah.
And, you know.
60 years later, we're still listening to that stuff.
Exactly.
I still listen to it.
Oh, I do too, all the time. And love it. It's because it's just, and I always love the stories. Tommy Tedesco told one where I can't remember which band was like, he says, "What the hell are you doing on that song?" He says, "I can't play it like that." He says, "You're killing me. People are going to expect me to play that on stage."
You know where else that happened? The Box Tops cut their stuff at American Studios, and that was their session band was really good, just like all the other ones. But it was the same band that played on things like Kentucky Rain by Elvis
Mm-hmm.
and Brother Love Traveling Show, Neil Diamond, and
Right.
you know all those things and the sound of that studio, it just to this day floors me every time I hear it. And the Box Top says, "Well, now we got to go out and try and play this stuff." You know? They had the lead singer on there, but
Right.
and I'm sure those guys could play, but I understand, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Not like that's where you have to have a little show.
Yeah.
Right. So let me kind of get into, so back in those days, mid 60s, you're playing with the late great Stan Celeste. Now that had to be a treat and a half. I've heard so many great stories about Stan, and you know what, and one was, I think it was Celeste Fest, not this past year, but a year ago. And I was talking to Mr. Conrad, and they invited him up on stage to you know, sit in on a song, and I said, "That's cool." And I was telling him about the podcast and how that your generation of musicians don't call me to be on the show. It's the younger ones do all the time.
Mhm.
And I said, "You know, why is," he says, "Greg, you got to understand something." He said, one time guy asked if he could sit in with Stan. He says, "Stan, let him get on the last song of the night." And at the end, he says, "You don't ask me, I ask you."
Yeah. He said you're supposed to wait till you're asked.
Yeah. And I didn't realize that. And because I'm in sales, right? And the first thing they always tell you got to ask for the sale, right? You can't just expect it. But which is why now on the older veterans, I'll call up and ask, you know, would you like to be on? And I just always thought that was, you know, something interesting, because there was kind of seemed like an unwritten rule, you know.
There was, when Stan was alive, you got to have etiquette and manners, especially around him. To be honest with you, I had played on a number of records with Stan and had sat in with him many times, but didn't officially get in Stan and the Ravens till about 1987 or 88, something like that. And he had called me. I was playing in Dallas with the show band out of Vegas, Gene Ferrari, show. Gene just died
Hmm.
a couple of weeks ago, still on my mind. And Stan called me in Dallas. I couldn't do it, but I told him, I said, when I get back, ever need me, call me, I'll drop what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, when I got home, he called, and it was great working with him. But everything was done the way he wanted it done. There was no screeching solos all night long or anything. Everything was organized like
Mm-hmm.
that. And you had to know what you were doing, because at the end of the night, there was a critique session. You might get beat up or something,
Oh, right.
I'm exaggerating, but I'm
Sure.
just saying it was very, very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, and to any of my contemporaries that all played with Stan, bass players Andy Rapillo and Joe Girano, a number of them, we've been listening to Stan stories since we were very young teenagers. And then to be standing on stage next to him, you're taking this really, really serious.
Right.
And it never changed. That's how we all looked at him all the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that, of course, gave you, you couldn't learn that in a classroom or anything like that,
no way.
right? That's being on the stage. And and I heard the same story about Ray Charles was that way.
I'm sure he
could
was.
hear, hey, you dropped a note here, you did this, you did that, and but and again, like you said, it's not to be mean or anything. It's to keep
to play
keep
music.
the level of keep that level of professionalism up, and you can't be sloppy out there.
No, you got to do it right.
Yeah,
I know at the studio, Dwayne's studio there, when John Dykman was alive, we had a sign above the door. The song is king.
Mm.
That means everybody knows, you're supposed to know, that your job is to serve the song.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever the song needs, that's what you do.
Right.
It isn't about you.
Right.
It's about the song.
Mm-hmm.
That's how Stan was. It was the same
Mm-hmm.
thing.
I've asked this of many folks, and it kind of lends into it, is, you're serving the song, but you got to put that feel into it, right? You can't be so regimented with it, it's just going to sound stale, right? But so how do you do that, like within the confines of like working with Stan? And is there like any kind of like leeway or head nods or something that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Usually on a session where you get called to play on some session, they call you for a specific reason, whatever that is. You may feel a certain way, you may have a certain sound, or maybe it's a very difficult thing and they need a sight reader or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's different reasons for that. On stage, with Stan, any of the bands that I was in, I mentioned Gene Ferrari, same thing with Big Wheelie. Those songs must be played that way. That's why the people came to see you. They're not interested in your interpretation necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
They want to hear that stuff. And to me, that's an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
But being able to play that stuff, you're supposed to already sort of have that.
Right.
I'm not sure you could buy that or,
Mm-hmm.
or any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's a fine line, right, between grandstanding or just kind of getting that groove, right?
Yeah, you
just
gotta do it.
Yeah, and as they say with the drummers, the pocket. Get there in the pocket. Well, because you guys bass players are pretty much the quarterback, aren't they? On keeping the beat and keeping the rest of the group together. I know drummers would probably argue with you, but
no, drummers and bass players, are supposed to be working together.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, if you're working with a drummer, and it's vice versa too. If you're working with a drummer who's a little weak on time or something,
Mm-hmm.
it's your job to pull them along. Same thing. If it's a weak bass player and a strong drummer, they can pull it together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know about quarterback, and it kind of depends.
Right.
In my band now, on our show that we do, I sort of do that,
Mm-hmm.
do the counts and the endings and all that kind of stuff. But by that time, they're supposed to know this stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if they don't, we'll have to have a discussion later,
That's right. You
But
don't get to come in. You don't get to come back. Right? No, that's the R&B Soul Review, right?
That's
Yep.
right.
Yep. Yep. Seen it a few times, and yeah, good stuff. And boy, folks, if you want to see some of Buffalo's best veterans, go see an R&B Soul Review show. So, because I think the next one's probably around Labor Day.
Labor Day. I was just
Labor
going to
Day.
say, I'm not sure the date. September 6th, maybe.
Something I can't
Yeah.
remember when Labor Day is, but yeah, I know it's always around Memorial Day, Labor Day,
And then Thanksgiving on Black Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the Diva Show in February,
Right.
which is around Valentine's Day,
Yep.
sort of.
Yeah, that's good stuff. So now I'm going to go back. I brought out some of my 45s to show you, and you've got a couple there that you were like co-writing on. And I know I always love talking to you at the Hall of Fame meet after our board meetings, because you say, yeah, I played on this one, I did that, and I'd come right home and I'd get on Discogs or on eBay and see if I could find it, and of course I'd buy it because I'm a nut. But what's the one that you got over there? I know it's on the Bandstand label.
Yeah, there was one of them was called Goodbye to Love, written by Sam Barano, the piano player that we had in Big Wheelie after Carol Swiss. And the other one was called Put Out the Fire, that Chuck Vicario had the original idea. And I was rooming with him that like I was telling you, in New Hampshire, and we banged it out. And they were cool. That was the first time I ever got any kind of credit for that type of stuff.
Right.
But yeah, they were cool songs. I can't remember it right now, but
Yeah. Well, I'll have to throw it on the record player, and I'm sure you're probably on a lot of recordings, right? But that the name doesn't necessarily be on the.
Well, I know I did. I think I did all the Terry Buchwald albums. I did most of the Big Wheelie. I think there's one or two, but they might be compilations. There's one or two I didn't. Well, the very first one I didn't play on, but then I played on the Something Old, Something New, and
Okay.
The one where we took the picture in front of South Park High School.
Yeah,
Can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I can't remember. I know I've got that one because you were very nice to tell me who everyone was on there, and I have a little cheat sheet on the back. And
I'll tell you, one of the best ones that Chuck came up with some years ago was a single that we did on, and I have it on cassette, and I should give that to you. It's called Rudy the Red-Nosed Biker. What a cool song.
Yeah.
And that was myself and Doug Morgano and Mike Phelps and Jeff Hackworth on sax. But it was a really cool song. Chuck's performance was great. I always loved it.
Right.
So there was a real lot of stuff like that. I played on Bob Falk's record and Doug Yeoman's records and Pete Howard and Lance Diamond's Christmas record.
Okay. Yeah. I've got that Christmas record.
Do you?
Yeah. Yeah. CD, but it's a.
The total, somebody asked me, my friend Joe Skinner many years ago, he's a rockabilly guy. And he asked me one day out of the blue if I had played on a lot of records. I said, yeah. How many? I said, I don't know. But the next time we go for coffee, I'll bring you a list. And I did. And it came to like 97,
wow,
albums and singles and some jingles and stuff like that. A lot of stuff. And Jerry Myers was the guy that I brought my band into Howell Recording on Delaware Avenue back in forget what year it was, and to make a demo. And Jerry asked me, hey, kid, do you want to play on a session next week or whatever it was? It was a Channel 4 bump and a Milk for Health commercial.
Oh, wow.
I don't have them, but I got I enjoyed that.
Right.
So I always liked recording.
Yeah. No, it was the same Milk for Health one, so it was always on Lou's show, because I know Ramblin' Lou they still do the Milk Moo.
I don't know if it was that one. This was earlier. I really don't recall. But
right.
I was just happy to be there.
Right. Now, when did you join Big Wheelie. Were you part of the Caesar and the Romans crew, or
No, I knew them.
Yeah.
I had a band in those days called the Savages,
Mm.
and which our singer changed it to the Ninth Movement. And around that time, that's when I met Chuck and all those guys, Ears and Dan Cook,
Mm-hmm.
Fred Caserta. I already knew Fred Saya. He was booking the Savages. And so I went with Big Wheelie, and it was in 73. I want to say like April or May of that year.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was an audition and all the stuff. And,
Right.
And that was the original band.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was there till 77, I think.
Right.
Something like
Okay.
that. Then I went back with them a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
And Chuck was great to work with. He was a good leader.
Mm-hmm.
And he just had a instinct about knowing certain things that was almost mystical. I could never figure out. Sam and I talk about that occasionally. He just knew stuff.
Right.
So nobody argued with him because he
Mm-hmm.
knew.
Right. That's why he was out front, right?
Oh yeah.
I was very fortunate. Probably a year and a half ago now, I had the Hubcap ladies down here. So
I heard.
Judy and all. What a hoot and a half!
Oh, I'll bet.
Oh my gosh, and the stories they had, but it had to be a different atmosphere back in those days, than it is now. Just with the way music was, and it wasn't as prolific. I mean, now you can find music anywhere, right? I mean, you
Right.
can stream it and just anywhere you want, you can find music. But back then, you had to get a 45. You had to buy an album.
You had to go to the store and look
Yeah.
for the stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
That's
go.
how we did it. That's how we
Mhm.
put the shows together.
Right.
Go to the thing and buy the records,
Yeah.
And yeah.
Now, did you ever work on any like original projects? Original music that.
I just did John Reggie's original project. He had the live thing at Sportsman's.
Right.
That was the second one in 6 months. So he's been writing songs.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we rehearse them, write them out, and he records them live. I'm guessing at some point he'll go in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
There's another guy around here named Bass Reeves. Do you remember him?
No, I don't.
Yeah, he had Frank Grisanti was in that band. He was like the leader of the band.
Okay.
And that was all originals and
Mm-hmm.
really different and unusual. But I took the job. We would play like Wednesday nights at the Sidebar on Hurdle.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'd get these other jobs. One time at Kleinhans, he got some good jobs. And I didn't do any recording with him. But I took that because I wanted to bone up on things like reading, even my own primitive charts.
Right.
The hand-eye coordination,
Mhm.
try to remember the stuff. So
Right.
that was a lot of fun. That was about 20 years ago, I think.
Wow. Yeah. Now, kind of. I mean, obviously, you've traveled all over, and I know I've heard some stories in the past of, playing at Melody Fair back in the day. And
Oh yeah.
where was for you? Was there ever like a room that you played around the country where you're like, man, this is really cool?
I'm sure there was a bunch of them. Melody Fair
Yeah.
would qualify for
Yeah.
that because it's your hometown, and at the
Mhm.
time it was the venue around here. So Big Wheelie had played there, as a headliner.
Mm-hmm.
And we had also played there with the DeFranco family a few years later,
Right.
of
Okay.
all things.
Yeah.
And I played there with Stone Country and Billy McEwen
Mm-hmm.
and Barbara St. Clair.
Yeah.
And I ended up headlining in Vegas with that Gene Ferrari act
Okay.
at the Sands, which was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Not really my cup of tea, the type of music that we were doing and all that, but to play in the Sands as a headliner,
Right.
that was pretty interesting. And so, like I said, Gene passed away maybe
Right.
a month ago.
Wow.
And it's really too bad.
Mm-hmm. Now, how many shows did you play a day?
We did one a day, and I think we were off on Sundays. And one show was broken into two parts because we had an Adagio dance team in between. And yeah, they were great.
Yeah.
You know, just to be able to say that you did it, you know.
Right. Yeah, I remember back in the day, I grew up in Fredonia and my parents used to, them and their whole crew, they were big into the JCs, and they'd always come up to Buffalo to Melody Fair, Klein Heads, and I remember them talking about Big Wheelie all the time when I was a kid, you know, and
No kidding.
really didn't know, you know, anything. I was just a kid, and but yeah, and then of course, you know, when you and I met, and I was like, Ma, guess what? Remember Big Wheelie? I says, I know one of the guys, and she's like, oh, no kidding. And it was, you know, you hear this stuff, and then it's like, you know, now here we are. You know, it's like, wow, that's I'll fanboy on you, little Nick.
You know, you were asking about wow moments. I just thought of one. When I was with Gretchen Schultz and the Marvells, that was Gretchen and myself and Doug Morgano and Mike Phelps. It was pretty bare bone, but we did it because we wanted her. She had such a great voice. She's still on my show.
Right.
But there was one live thing that we did at the Trelf that I have a copy of that I'll be happy to give you, because I doubt you have one, of her doing Sweet Dreams by Patsy Cline.
Oh,
but it was our own arrangement. And she like destroyed the place with this. And and to this day, when I talk to her, that'll come up quite often. That's still one of the moments. I looked around and I said, I sure hope they got this on tape. You know? Right. But it turned out great. Doug was great. Everybody played great. I got to give you one of those.
Yeah. Oh, that would be fantastic.
I think it's on cassette.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe I might have one on somebody. I think Sam burned me one onto a CD.
Yeah, because I know you guys got back together last year. I think it was either for the Sam Fest or the 40th for the 40th. Okay,
right.
Yeah,
and that was Mike Phelps. He passed away right after that.
Wow,
the drummer, and he sounded great that day, like he always did.
Yeah,
and I'm glad that they, you know, Dwayne wanted talk to Doug about putting that thing together for the 40th.
Right.
You know, so yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, which was all bands that like played Sportsman's way back in the day.
All the way back to the beginning.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. I bet you I have a couple pictures of Mike. So I know I got some great ones of you, which will be on my website to accompany this episode. But yeah, that was a great day. I mean,
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, seeing some of the folks and, you know, seeing the Valkyries get back together.
Yeah,
you know, Dave Kane coming back into town,
and it sounded good. You know, and it was anything for Dwayne. You know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So, although I told Dwayne, I said he was holding the number 2 spot here on the podcast for a while, but I says the kids are beating you now. I says you can't compete with the kids. So I had the foundation, we sponsor some scholarships for Borderland, and they play out of Borderland, and I had them on last year, and I says, yeah, they've been slowly catching up to you, Dwayne. He says, oh well, you know what the, but fun to kind of bust them, but it's but you know, it's fun too to nurture the young kids, and we've got some really great young musicians.
There's always good ones coming up. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's and I know, and I've mentioned many times, you've always mentioned to me that you know, because kind of the way that everyone mentors everyone here in Buffalo, old to new, and you know, veterans to novices, that if you were going anywhere in the country and wanted to do session work and said you're from Buffalo, they'd be like, you're hired.
Yeah,
because they know how well. Where does that come from? Is that just because people are just so kind of from that stand kind of thing?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if they're just like a work ethic thing that among the players. When I inducted Clint Holmes in the Hall of Fame, I went out to Vegas. Me and Doug Morgano went out there, and he made a comment on stage about, you know, all the great players that came out of there, because I had mentioned like the year before, I think we put in Nino Tempo and April Stevens. He started singing the song and said something about maybe it's because of the long winters. Everybody practices a lot.
Sure.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But that's true, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I always marvel when you guys get together and twang gang and folks will just get up and somebody will get up to sing a song and everyone kind of looks at each other. Okay, we got this. Here's the key. Blah blah blah.
Right.
And everyone just works together.
Mm-hmm.
And follows that the vocalist and never maybe have played behind that vocalist ever. And it's just you'd never
go through it all the time. Well, it's
Yeah.
like a team effort.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want the monster egos on a thing like that.
Right.
It just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. I remember after one of the galas and Michael Hund had a backline down there at the Shea Smith. I think it was the Shea Smith. We went from the Trough downstairs and I got down there about half an hour later or whatever after everything was starting. Greg, come on up and sing with us. And Frank Pusateri was on bass and Michael Hund was playing guitar and Al Hurry's on drums. And we did Stray Cat Strut and it was the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I mean, I never played with these guys and they just came right in. I'm like, wow.
Those guys know how to play, all
yeah.
of them.
I said, I could get used to this.
Yeah, sure.
It's so if you ever need a rockabilly singer, man, here I am. I've always everyone always asks me, you sing rockabilly? I'm like, nah, I'm a folk. I sing folk. That's just because I've never had the opportunity to sing. To sing the rockabilly stuff, which I would absolutely love. So now also so traveling around, you have to have some great travel stories of the bus broke down and all that good kind of stuff where you by the skin of your teeth and coming in the back alley and
I don't know, some of that stuff I'm not sure can be said on the air. But,
oh heck yeah.
I don't know when we were on the road with Big Wheelie, that was usually done in cars.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody bought big cars. And my good friend Tom Russo passed away years ago. He always had big Cadillacs and Buicks. And Nick Salamone and I had Lincolns.
Mm-hmm.
It was great. And usually the three of us would travel together there for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, all the things with the blizzards and driving off the road and getting pulled over by the county sheriff. That one guy pulled us over. I can't remember what state. It must have been Kentucky or Tennessee. And Tom was driving. Guy walked up to the window. Tom rolls down the window, but he had the engine on, and it was in park. And the first thing he said, "Shut the motor off, clown." And I said, "Whoop, yeah." And that cost us $100 to get out of that. The energy crisis, we were out there for that thing.
Right.
It was a joke. Oh my God.
Well, yeah, they didn't like those big cars back then, so. But you certainly weren't going to be able to drive around the country in a Pinto, right?
No, you can't do that.
No. Now, did you ever get up into Canada?
Yeah, we used to play Toronto and quite a bit. There's a whole bunch of little towns. Guelph, Galt, Kitchener, St. Catharines, London. Closest I ever came to playing Detroit was in, what the hell was the name of that
Was
town?
that Windsor? I know Windsor's
Chatham and Windsor. They're like next to each other.
Right.
Yeah. And we played Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Wow.
Yeah, that was awful. It really was.
Yeah. That's in the middle of East Nowheresville, right?
Yeah, it was a military town. I mean, the people were nice and everything, but it was just too weird.
Yeah. Now, was that all with Big Wheelie?
All with Big Wheelie.
Yeah.
And then we had played, we were in Los Angeles with Big Wheelie to be on the Tony Orlando and Dawn show.
Oh, wow.
And while we were out there, we did do the audio test.
Okay.
And the show got canceled while we were out there.
Oh, man.
So, we had to get home on credit cards and stuff like that. It was
geez.
really weird.
I remember
all
that
of
show.
those things pile into experience.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I remember that show. I grew up on all those great variety shows.
Sure.
I mean, man, talk about great music. I mean,
yeah.
I wish they'd come back, but it would never happen again. It's too bad. Different time and all that good kind of stuff. But again, when you can pretty much find anything you want on, online, just kind of, I
I'm
want to
not
hear
sh-
this.
I'm not sure how much that helped the music business.
I
You
don't
know,
think it has.
you
No, it may have helped the music
I still
business.
have one of these.
Yeah, but it hasn't helped the musicians, right?
No.
Yeah, yeah. I got one of these because I need one for work. But
Oh, sure.
as I always say, I says, does anyone use that as a phone anymore?
That's
You
all
can
you
talk
can do
into the
on this one. You
Yeah.
can only make and receive. I don't want messages or nothing.
Yeah, yeah, and of course, life is so interwoven now around the internet. But of course, because of that, I get to do this, right?
Yeah, sure,
So
of course.
it's it's got its good and its bad, but
Sure. it
because who
does.
knows? Even 10 years ago, like when I was with the Hall, I don't know if I would have been able to get this kind of equipment, but not for the price that you know it would have been probably 3 times as much, and of course this is all self-produced, so this is all me, and I like it that way.
Yeah.
It's because I get to do what I want.
Yeah.
You
And you get the glory.
I wouldn't say it's glory, but
Some people would.
yeah, I've had I think it's more of a privilege because I've had some really cool people on the show that I've got to meet. One of them was Peggy Farrell.
Oh,
I
yeah.
will say that till
She's
the
great. Yeah.
day I go, she was awesome.
Yeah.
And my favorite story is I said, well, let's get together next Sunday. And she said, I can't do that. I said, why not? She said, well, I got a gig that day.
She's still out there.
Yeah. I said, 92 and you're gigging? I was like,
Yeah.
God bless you, and
Yeah. That's
boy.
her.
And when she was in her wheelchair after she fell right before she got
Mm-hmm.
inducted, and she was there at the Cove and just, okay, boys, a 1, a 2. Again, that's that.
Yeah, I backed her up a couple times at the Calumet
Mm.
with the Marvells. It was her and Jamie Moses, who
Oh.
was her son.
Right.
And I knew her husband, Nick Moses.
Okay.
I actually knew him first,
Ah.
and he was our barber when we were kids. And I think he passed away. But what a good guy, solid guy.
Yeah. No, it's the folks that I've gotten to meet and the stories that I've heard are just. That's why I keep doing this. It's
Mhm.
like I can't stop. It's an addiction, really.
Sure
It's
it
like
is.
I just want to sit here and go, okay, and
Right.
just keep hearing these, because what you guys have done and what you're able to do, with the Hall of Fame and keep the spirit and the stories. I've always thought it's about the stories, right? It's about the memories. It's about keeping that alive, right? If we lose these stories
Wow,
and we lose this history, I mean, what a shame that would be to not remember our past and the people that have paved the way for where everything is at now. And we mentioned Dwayne and what he's done for the community and
oh yeah,
for the music scene around here. Unfortunately, we don't have much of a music industry, but we've certainly got a scene,
Oh.
and which allows you to do so much. And of course, it allows everybody to go pretty much any day of the week and hear whatever you want.
sure.
There's not too many places around the country like that. I know I had a friend years ago said, or actually it wasn't a friend. It was, when I was with the Hall, we were down at the Jazz Festival in front of the Colored Musicians Club and had a little tent, and we're talking, and this guy comes up, and I think Ed and Diane Strawbridge were there with me, and he says, I just got back from, I live in Charlotte, and he says, I'm so glad to be back in town. He says, we're lucky if we get music maybe on a Friday and a Saturday night
Yeah.
where he is. And it's mediocre cover bands at best.
Right.
Nothing, no good cover bands, no good originals, no.
Yeah.
He says, and you don't think about that when you're up here because you can go anywhere.
Yeah. That's true.
Theater, music, architecture, you name it, we've got it.
Yeah, we do.
And we take it for granted. And have always been proud to have been a part of, trying to keep everything alive. And
Yeah, you're certainly doing a good job.
what we can do, like with the Hall and with the foundation, and other groups are doing some great stuff too. Music is Art and what Robbie's doing. And,
Oh yeah.
it's so cool to see that, you know.
Tell you a funny thing about the Hall of Fame. I had to, when I was talking to somebody who was sort of judgmental on people that were going into the Hall of Fame, people that were being considered and all that. And I told this person that you have to remember something. Some of these people have dedicated their lives to playing music and music in general, sacrificed everything, where other people have 401ks and businesses. These people, if they're lucky, in Buffalo, they get a $50 gold Buffalo.
Right.
That's it. And I said, and you think of that, you know, because that's all you get.
Right.
You know, I tell people the music business is like a pyramid. And at the very top, there's not a lot of room.
Right.
So, you know, you're taking your chances early. If you're here to make money, forget about it.
Right.
Maybe you'll make money. And if you're any good, you probably will. If you get in the right, you know, there's a whole bunch of ways, but maybe not.
Right.
And that's nature. Like any of the other arts, being a sculptor, a painter. My father was a commercial artist, for instance.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And I was lucky to have such great parents because they understood the art burn, you know, wanting to do it. And I'm going to hold my breath until I do it. And so I was fortunate like that. But, you know, that's really the case. And so I keep that in mind when I think about some of these people that are being considered for the Hall of Fame. It's all they get. You know.
Right.
Maybe a free dinner that night. That's, you know.
and a quarter for the parking meter.
Yeah.
No, that's a really good point because, and I know, you know, I remember one time it's like, well, where's the, you know, it's a Hall of Fame, but it's not necessarily because you're famous, right?
No.
I mean, and there's so many folks. Of course, there's some folks in the Hall of Fame that are, you know, like the Goo Goo Dolls and Ani DeFranco and some of those folks who have been fortunate enough to make it big.
Sure.
And but again, there's those other people that kind of they did their thing for years and years and years and years, entertained a lot of people, brought a lot of joy to a lot of people, but didn't have that notoriety, if you will.
Right.
But then, like you said, they get a $50 Buffalo, and they get a
Maybe.
night. They get their 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
That night, and I know I always tried to. This is your night, right? You enjoy it.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, you only get 10, 15 minutes up there because we gotta, you know, we can't have an 8-hour show. But you know, it's nice to just give people that nod of you done good.
Yeah.
You know,
I get more out of watching people get inducted and seeing the look on their face more so than when I went in 1994, whatever it was. And, you know, just to see some of these people, some of them cry, people that are billionaires that are being recognized by their hometown for being in the music business. It happened one time. It happens quite a bit.
Right.
And, you know, so it means something.
Yeah. And I know you've always said it is not elitist. It is an elite group.
Yeah.
A group of elite musicians.
That's right.
And, you know, and I'm glad we're talking about it a little bit because I know I've always been still protective of it. It was my baby for 11. I was there for 11 years and, thought I did what I could do. And
you did,
you know, time to move on, do some different stuff and let some other folks, you know, put their spin on it, which I think is great. Of course, now I get to do this, so I don't have much time. I'm surprised I get time to do the Sportsman's Foundation stuff. So, because this keeps me rolling. But, and again, I know, you know, listen to this show. There's a lot of future Hall of Famers who I've had down here. A lot of young folks,
sure.
And, you know, and I could name them, not people that could get in tomorrow or people that are 10, 15 years, 20 years away, 30 years away.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, I've had some 13-year-old kids down here. It's like, yeah, you're going to.
If they stay in the business.
Yeah.
Because people have to remember it's a New York State museum and it's based on history too.
Yes.
You know, that's why you take somebody like Ani DeFranco. if I'm not mistaken, I think she's the youngest person to go in. I think she was 24 or something like that. But she sell 30 million records on her own or something. I mean, you can't argue with the success factor, but it's historical. And she certainly made a mark,
Sure. Well, and she's still doing it, of course. So it's not like, not like you gave her the buffalo and she went, see ya.
No.
So
she's still at it.
Yeah. And there's some folks like that. I know some younger ones. And I was surprised when I had Rob Lynch on and he says, I was only like 42 when I was inducted. I'm like, really? And, but and he's still, most everybody, I think, and even most young musicians, I would say probably 80 to 85%, because I've looked into this, of who have gotten scholarships are still doing music.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. So, some have gone into some different things. I know one young gentleman, I remember we gave him a scholarship. Because he was the son of one of my high school classmates. And he's out, I think, in Oregon, and he's a major opera tenor.
Wow.
And doing some really cool stuff. Yeah. I've kind of been back and forth talking to him about trying to get him on the podcast because he's doing some really neat stuff.
Cool.
And I think, because I don't know if you remember, he got to the ceremony late because, I don't know, traffic or something like that. And because we normally used to have the scholarship winners perform before the ceremony. And he sang an opera song in the middle, and everyone was like, "What the hell is that?" But it's like, hey, he drove all that way. We got to give him his 3 minutes to shine. And but they're still, and it's great, and you're still supporting young kids.
Yeah,
which is awesome. Nick, we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I know I've done a lot of talking, and. Anything else that you want to kind of impart your wisdom? I know I always enjoy talking to you and hearing about the old days. And
I'm flattered that you liked all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
the only thing I want to say is it's good that we have somebody like you to try and keep this stuff, flowing and tell people. And I know these podcasts go all over the world, so hopefully it'll help or open people's eyes.
Right. Yeah. It's like, really? They're doing that in Buffalo? Yeah. Darn tootin' we're doing that in Buffalo. It's some cool stuff. Yeah. And it is neat to see when I look at the, who's listening, to see Spain and Italy and Sweden and stuff like that pop up. Just had a lot in Asia.
Well, if anybody, there's a really outstanding musician, bass player that lives in Spain. His name Aaron Trubik. He moved to Spain a couple of years ago. I hope he hears this.
Oh.
We can't even find him, But
wow.
Hopefully he'll come back one of these days.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't find out, like, where specifically. It's just, like, I know New York State, but it won't tell me Buffalo or New York City or Albany or anything like that. So, but yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And, Nick, I can't thank you enough again for coming down.
Thank you for having me.
Telling your stories. Always welcome to come down, hang, listen to some old records. I mean, I probably got out of those 97, I'll bet you I got half of them.
You probably do.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give you that Marvell's record. Of all the people I can think of, you should add that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Because, and I tell everybody, everything that I have down here in my little Flamingo Lounge has got a local presence to it. When I go, I want it to go to, the Hall or the History Museum, someone that can curate it, keep it, share it with everybody else. So that's kind of...
You're not going anywhere. Don't worry about it.
Oh, not for a long time. Yeah. Nope. That's because I still got a lot of time. I got to collect more stuff.
Yeah, that's right.
But unfortunately, most of the stuff that I got to collect now is going to cost me some real dough because, as we mentioned before we got on, some of these records and 45s, we were talking about Dolly Durrani, her 45s, or even the bootlegs are over $100.
Those are the ones in England, right?
Yeah. And Northern Soul, England calls Buffalo Northern Soul, which I think is wild. And probably a good 20 to 25% of the 45s that I have from Buffalo have come back from Europe.
Barbara St. Clair had a couple of records over there too that I can't think of the name of it, but Ron Davis, I believe, wrote those. I think, around the time of the pincushions.
Okay.
John Mahoney and all
Right.
those people.
Yeah. I've got some of the pincushion stuff. And I mentioned Van Taylor, huge over in Europe. It's huge.
Van is a brilliant musician.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I look at him like, what? Really? I'm like, oh my goodness. So
Yeah, he knows everybody.
yeah, he knows everyone. He's connected, and
Mhm.
he's going to be a future guest coming down here to talk about his 3 to Go music and the business side of it. So, which is extremely important, right?
Yeah, he's one of the few guys. He's good at both. you
Right.
know. Some of that went over my head.
Mm-hmm. But again, Nick, I can't thank you enough for coming down here. It's always a pleasure. I love getting together with you. And for everyone who's tuned in, hopefully you've had just as much fun as we have. And, if you see Nick out, I'm sure he'll be happy to talk music and go over some stories, have a cup of always a cup of coffee. Had to put a fresh pot on. That's I know the drill. And but for everyone who's tuned in, we hope you've had a lot of fun. And as always, you can find the podcast where you get your podcasts at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Audio, thebuffalohive.com, YouTube, and of course, you can always find the podcast at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music. And I will have some photos and some other stuff that I'll put on my website that Nick's been on, and some pictures of those 45s. And I got some great shots of you back last year at the 40th for Sportsman's, and there's some bios out there from you. So be on the lookout for that, kids. And I'm sure there's some videos out there too with you up there doing your thing. So for everyone who's tuned in, thanks for tuning in as always, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye. In the Flamingo Lounge is made possible in part by CatsLikeUs.com, your online store for authentic vintage clothing and accessories. Buffalo Ironworks, an intimate live music venue and bar located in the Cobblestone District in downtown Buffalo. Sportsman's Tavern, Buffalo's original honky-tonk and popular live music venue. And by Diamond Hawk Golf Course and Pub, Western New York's premier golf course, restaurant, and banquet facility. At the Hawk, the bar is hopping year-round with live music every Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and some other nights too. Tune in for a new episode every Saturday at 9 a.m. EST at rockabillygreg.com, where it's all about the music. Bark, Zoe, bark. Good girl.